All right, well, Ellis and Rich had to go, and we apologize to you guys, but we want to get to some of our other guests here today. Natalie Holloway was supposed to be starting college classes this week. The University of Alabama has saved her space, and they've kept her dorm room open. Her family and countless volunteers are obviously still searching for clues into her disappearance. Art Wood is a former Secret Service agent aiding the search in Aruba, and he joins us from Aruba. And here in studio, Raul Menchaca is an international law attorney, and forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden joins us as well. Thanks, guys, for being here today. Art, I'm going to start with you down in Aruba.
Thanks for having us, Julie.
Thank you for joining us. Can you give us an update?
Well, I could tell you, there's not much new today. We conducted a water search yesterday on a point about 3/4 of a mile to a mile offshore behind me here, and we put 6 divers in the water. We're hoping to get a more organized professional dive going later in the week with about 20 professional divers.
All right. Hey, Raul, very quickly, Joran, there's a possibility, there's a hearing coming up in a couple of weeks, right, that he may be released. Why would he be released?
Well, because there's no evidence to hold him. That's what they would state. But this is the problem with the common law and the civil law system right now. I mean, the civil law system focuses on social stability, whereas the common law in the U.S. focuses on human rights. And unfortunately, like Dr. Baden said, unfortunately they had a few days in the beginning to really collect that evidence. And unfortunately that would involve overturning a lot of soil, so to speak, in the hierarchy system in Aruba. And they probably didn't want to offend anybody and sort of, usurp the entire status quo over there in the beginning, which is what they should have done. Here in the States, it doesn't matter who they are, whether it's O.J. Simpson or Robert Blake, they're going to move very quickly in the first couple of weeks of the investigation and find that evidence that's hot and analyze it. But unfortunately, because of what I believe is a civil system there, which is very staid and stagnant compared to the common law system of the Americans, we're probably not going to have a lot of good results in the prosecution.
So, Doctor, let's just hypothetically say they release Joran. He's allowed to go out back into the community. What's your concern about potential forensic evidence or lack thereof, and how his release might affect that?
One of the concerns will be is the devastating effect it will have on the parents, because it's an outrage if they release all 3 of these boys who were last with Natalie and who lied to the police, so that because they lied to the police, they didn't collect the evidence at the beginning. What they did is they collected the evidence from the wrong people, from the 2 black security guards. They did the right things from a police point of view, but the wrong people. But still, what we don't know is what statements they've made to the police. And most murders in the United States and in other countries are solved by statements people made, by confessions, by incriminating statements, or by eyewitnesses of others. And they can still solve this depending on what statements the 3 boys have made to the police and that they have documented.
Hey, Art, there's been a lot of criticism, as you know, on the Aruban authorities and the way they've handled the case. How are you finding them as far as cooperation goes?
Well, Julie, it's a difficult question for me because I have contacts in the police department here that I trust. I can tell you right now that there were some mistakes made in this case, but they have statements from these guys, and I've seen some of the statements, and they lie. Joran's lied 14 times. He's changed his statement 14 times. We're coming down to the wire on this case. I think there's going to be enough evidence to keep him in jail for at least another 30 days.
All right, and Raul, very quickly, the Calpo brothers and Joran's father, should investigators try to talk to these guys before this 2-week period is up?
Absolutely. What I was saying is that they should probably re-interview these 3 individuals, get their stories, and literally, what happened at 8 o'clock, 8:01, 8:02, 8:03.
Just get them back on the same page.
Absolutely. Before they release Joran, they should really have these stories, and first determine if there's any inconsistencies in these 3 stories, and then follow up with Joran afterwards.
Raul Menchaca, Dr. Michael Baden, Art Wood down in Aruba, thanks very much for joining us today, gentlemen.